Welcome to building an HO layout. We're going to show you how we built this HO layout. But all we show can be applied to any layout of any size. We'll cover building the benchwork, laying and ballasting the track, how we created and painted the mountain, how we added ground cover and trees, how we wired the layout, how we built this impressive trestle bridge, and how we created a waterfall tumbling into a peaceful pond, plus a lot more. Our layout builder is RJ Walpole. RJ has been building models and layouts for over 10 years. During that time, he has acquired lots of tools, some that are pretty expensive, like fancy electric saws, an airbrush, table saws, etc. While these do a fine job quickly, they are not the only tools that will work. Hand saws, paint brushes, and hand drills will also do the job. Maybe not as quickly, but the job will get done. So don't be intimidated by RJ using all his fancy tools. Tools you have around the house will work just fine. In building any layout, there are decisions to make. What type of foundation? A track plan, sectional track, or flexible track? How to apply the ground cover and scenery, and many other choices. We are going to demonstrate and explain why we chose the method we chose, but you might come up with a different way that works best for you, and that's great. Layout building is all about being creative and coming up with new, better, and cheaper ways to do things. And it's highly personal. Every layout is a reflection of the layout builder's taste, talent, and creativity. So use this DVD as a guide, and let's get busy. First, let's talk about a track plan. The main consideration in arriving on a track plan is how much available space you have. If this is your first layout, we suggest you start small, say 4 by 6 feet or 4 by 8 feet. There are many books, magazines, and computer programs filled with track plans for various size layouts. Do a Google search on Model Railroad Track Plans HO, and you get 110,000 results. So finding track plan ideas is not a problem. As you look over the various plans, if you find one that you want to copy exactly, fine. But if you don't despair. Look over the plans for interesting parts, like a yard, or mining area, or industrial complex that appeals to you. Combining parts from a number of different track plans is perfectly acceptable and may work best for you. The foundation or support structure for your railroad is called benchwork. The most important thing about whatever type you choose is that your benchwork be steady and sturdy. There are two basic kinds of benchwork, flat top and L girder. There are advantages and disadvantages to both. Advanced model railroaders prefer L girder benchwork to a flat top layout because the scenery created between the girders can be much more realistic than scenery created on a flat surface. They feel a layout should never be built on a flat surface because the real world isn't flat. Some purists even go as far as to install all the scenery first, mountains, hills, valleys, then cut paths and build bridges for their track because that's the way the real railroads did it. Scenery between the girders can go up to the ceiling or down to the floor. And when you see a layout where the scenery starts at the floor and goes to the ceiling, well, it's pretty amazing. But we're not there yet. We just want to build a layout, lay some track, build a mountain, create some scenery, and run trains. Maybe next time we'll blow a tunnel through our mountain with a cherry bomb. For beginners, it's best to start with a flat top table because it's easier, faster, and cheaper. Then, once you have one flat top layout under your belt, you can graduate to L-girder on your next layout. Here are the tools and materials you'll need to build a basic 4x8 foot table 32 inches high. A circular saw, level, a power drill, 2-inch drywall screws, one sheet of 4x8 1/2-inch thick plywood or particle board, and 7 8-foot 1x4s. Particle board costs about half as much as plywood. RJ is using a pneumatic stapler, but he's just showing off. The power drill and screws, or a hammer and nails, will work just as well. For the legs, cut 8 32-inch lengths out of the 3 8-foot 1x4s. Join the 1x4s at right angles. Create framework for the 4x8 tabletop with 2 8-foot long 1x4s and 4 46-inch long 1x4s for support pieces. To help keep the table level, attach the legs to the framework while the framework is on the floor. Now turn the table right side up and attach the plywood. RJ then puts a 4x8 sheet of Homosote over the plywood. The Homosote is optional, but it gives your benchwork a nice surface texture and absorbs sound. This is a basic formula for a solid train table. Materials will vary depending on your requirements. The first problem we ran into was a ceiling support beam right in the middle of the area where we wanted to build our layout. So RJ decided to build a mountain to cover the beam. First, he built a 5x5 foot base around the beam to support the mountain. Then he comes off that base with 4 flat top sections, all measure 4 feet long by 5 feet wide. One will be a farm area, another will be the seaport, and the third will be a small town business district. We wanted to have an elevated loop going around the mountain, so RJ added a 5-foot circle of 1/4-inch particle board about 10 inches above the tabletop. Since we had more space on the east end of the layout, RJ added a yard area measuring 5 by 8 feet. Between the yard and the farm area will be a valley with the waterfall and a 62-inch long trestle bridge. Now the table is complete. Time to paint the surface. Once again, individual preference will dictate color and texture. In this area, RJ decided to go with a flat green latex paint mixed with sawdust. Sawdust adds texture and is free. Just sweep up the sawdust generated by sawing the wood when you made the benchwork. Don't mix too much sawdust into the paint. The mixture should have the consistency of runny oatmeal. In the freight yard and city areas, we went with gray to simulate concrete. Whatever color you choose, you can alter the overall look by adding different colors and textures of ground cover later. Next big decision, what type of track? There are a number of manufacturers of HO track. Get advice from your hobby store or other model railroaders as to which brand of track you buy. Most experienced model railroaders use flex track. It comes in 36-inch lengths and can be cut to any length or bent to any radius, and there are less connections, so electricity flows better. But flexible track is difficult to install, especially for beginners. You have to bend the track, cut the rails, and remove some ties. If you do choose flex track, use a tool like rail nippers or some other flush side cutting tool designed specifically to cut track. Never use tin snips. Rail nippers are available from Micromark, Walthers, or most hobby stores. Sectional track is your other option. With sectional track, your curves are limited to the radii the manufacturer offers, and you have more connections. But there is no cutting, no removing of ties, and no bending of the track. Most manufacturers today use nickel silver. Whatever track you choose, it's important to take your time and install the track carefully. A solid track foundation is essential for your trains to operate smoothly and reliably. HO track comes in various code numbers. The code number indicates rail height in thousandths of an inch. The higher the code number, the higher the rail. The lower the code number, the lower or more prototypical the rail looks. If you purchased a beginner's train set, you probably have code 100 track. The higher rail means fewer derailments. But for realistic, prototypical appearance, you want a lower code. Code 83 and code 70 are common sizes for HO layouts. We chose code 83 Atlas sectional track with curve radii of 15, 18, 22, and 24 inches. We feel code 83 is a reasonable compromise between realistic appearance and trains staying on the track. Whatever code you choose, stick with that code. Don't mix codes. Use the same code for your entire layout. The code and radius of each piece of Atlas sectional track is indicated on the underside of the track. There are a number of ways to go about building a realistic looking mountain. Molds, rolled up wads of newspaper covered with plaster cloth, paper mache, screen wire over a wood framework covered with plaster cloth, or even real rocks. RJ decided on using multiple layers of 2-inch thick Owens Corning foam board because he thinks that method makes the most realistic looking mountain. We start with 3 4x8 sheets of the pink foam board, foam sealant, and foam board adhesive. Tools needed are an orbital sander, box cutter, hot wire, jigsaw, caulk gun, and reciprocating saw with 12-inch blade. I already mentioned this big 6x6-inch support beam standing in the middle of the space where we want to build this layout. In order to hide the support beam, RJ is going to build his mountain around the beam. RJ starts by laying the base pieces, measuring about 4 foot square around the beam. He keeps adding layers, each layer a little smaller than the previous. RJ continues to assemble the mountain in this descending size or step method until he reaches the top, about 4 feet above the tabletop. RJ uses a reciprocating saw and the box cutter to cut the foam in the various shapes. Once the mountain is assembled and all the pieces are cut, take the mountain apart, making sure to keep each piece in the proper order. So when you reassemble the mountain, the pieces will fit where they were originally placed. Lay down the base first and spread the foam board adhesive to the surface. Lay the pieces of the second layer on top and press firmly down to make sure the adhesive bonds. Repeat this with each layer until the mountain is formed. RJ uses the insulating foam sealant to fill in any cracks. RJ is using a reciprocating saw to carve our crevices and give the mountain its shape. I think he's just showing off. A $5.95 keyhole saw will work just as well. Have fun! You can't make a mistake here unless you cut away too much, so be free, but go easy. Have a vacuum handy to clean up the mess. Using the same materials, RJ created a valley next to the farm area. The big difference between the valley and the mountain is the foam for the valley is shaped prior to the installation and is installed vertically rather than horizontally. We added a waterfall to the valley seam. To create a smooth waterfall channel in such a tight area, use a hot wire to shape the channel. RJ uses the orbital sander to make a smooth river basin. The sander is also used on the mountain to add detail and smooth out rough areas. RJ uses his reciprocating saw again to cut out openings for the tunnels. Lay the track down first to see where the tunnel opening should be. The basic shape of the mountain and valley is complete. Now it's time to apply the plaster, paint, and add scenery. The materials RJ will need are all-purpose joint compound, a variety of paint in earth tone colors, dish soap, plaster cloth, white glue, potting soil, and a variety of ground cover colors. Tools include a mixing bucket, power drill with mixing attachment, spray bottle, small sifter, tweezers, an airbrush or paint brushes, and sandpaper. First, we'll deal with the valley. To get started, RJ cuts the plaster cloth into 10 to 12 inch wide strips. You can make your own plaster cloth by taking cheesecloth or paper towels, dipping them into the plaster, then spreading them over your framework. He dips the strips into a container of water, making sure to moisten the entire piece. RJ uses the plaster cloth to create the base of the pond where the water will fall. It's important to do a thorough job smoothing out the plaster on the cloth to eliminate any holes between the cloth's fibers. This will create a smooth, hard, and leak-proof surface, which is essential when we pour our water later. For a finished look, run the plaster cloth over the edge. Now, RJ is ready to cover the mountain and valley with plaster. RJ mixes the plaster using a power drill with a mixing attachment and adds color pigment so if the plaster cracks or chips, you won't see white plaster. RJ spreads the plaster over the mountain with his hands. He makes sure to fill all the cracks and crevices. Remember, nature is forgiving. There are no straight lines and you really can't make a mistake. Get your hands messy and have fun. If you want to carve out a rock formation, apply an extra thick layer of plaster, then shape it after it dries. You can also add rocks made from rock molds. For your mountain, look up pictures of mountains on your computer or in a book. Pick one and use it as a model. This will help you decide on what colors to use. After waiting at least 24 hours for the plaster to dry, RJ is ready to paint. Use water-based paints. The old show-off is using an airbrush, but diluted paints applied with a simple paintbrush or sponge brush will work just fine too. Dilute the paint to the consistency of water so it drips down your mountain naturally, seeping into all the ruts and crevices. You can also use spray paint from a can or diluted paint applied with a spray bottle. Mix the paint well and start with the darker colors. The dark colors create the illusion of shadows. RJ adds earthy tones like browns and reds, ending up with greens and yellows. After the paint dries, RJ lightly sands high points with a medium-grade sandpaper to create highlights. You can also use dry brushing to create highlights. To dry brush, you dip the brush in paint, then brush almost all the paint off on another surface, leaving just enough paint to create highlights. Now for the ground cover. After the mountain dries, RJ brushes a light coat of white glue to the flat areas where foliage would likely grow. Next, he runs the potting soil through a sifter to get all the large chunks out. Sprinkle the potting soil over the flat areas. This will give a softer, more natural look to your mountain. Do small sections about a foot square, one at a time. To secure the ground cover to the mountain surface, spray a mixture of 1 part dish soap and 5 parts water over the area. The soap and water mixture will seep through the loose soil and ground cover to bond with the glue we've already applied to the mountain surface. Spray this mixture on before the glue dries. As a final touch, add some different shades of ground cover to add color and vary the texture. Start with a dark color, gradually getting lighter with each layer you add. The more layers you add, the more diverse and organic your mountain will be. After the soapy water mix dries, RJ punches a hole about the size of the tree trunk and uses tweezers to place the trees so as not to disturb the ground cover. For a fall scene, use reds, yellows, and oranges to sprinkle on your mountain. This will look like fallen leaves. You also want to add trees of the same colors. Sprinkle your fall colors over some green trees to simulate the turning of the season. This will provide a nice progression from one end of your layout to the next. After deciding on a track plan, assemble the track on the board. Whether you use sectional track or flex track, the rails are connected with rail joiners. The rails should fit snugly into the joiners. This is especially important for electrical contact. To be sure of getting good electrical contact, use needle nose pliers and crimp each joiner gently. When the track is laid out, run a Sharpie pen along both sides of the track. Then remove the track from the board. You don't have to completely disassemble it, but you want to move it out of the way. The lines made by the Sharpie show where the cork roadbed will go for each line of track. Cork roadbed sets the track up on a grade and provides sloped edges for a realistic look. Add basic craft project glue or contact cement in between the Sharpie lines where the roadbed will be placed. Use a hobby saw or X-Acto knife to trim the cork as needed. Don't throw away the scraps because you may need them. Place the cork roadbed on the glue. Use small, specially made track tacks to temporarily fasten down the track. Use a nail set and a tack hammer to drive the tacks just enough to go through the soundboard and partially into the wood, but not all the way in. Leave enough tack showing so you can pull it out with pliers after the ballast sets. Install terminal joiners to get power from the power pack to the track. It's best to install additional power wires every 5 feet or so. Drill 2 holes through the roadbed and drop the wires. Do not cross wires from both rails or you will have an electrical short. These extra electrical feeds help maintain consistent power flow, which will allow your train to maintain a steady speed all the way around the loop. After you have fastened down the track, roll a car along the rails to make sure it runs smoothly. Now we're ready for ballasting the track. Medium ballast is good for HO, and it comes in different colors. Distribute the ballast along the track bed. Then use a firm brush to sweep the ballast off the ties and smooth out the ballast along the beveled edges. It is crucial for the moving parts of the re-railer and the switch to have free movement. It's a long process, but it's worth the time and effort to carefully remove all the ballast from the track ties. To secure the ballast, you first gently spray water over the track bed. 1 drop of soap should be added to help reduce the water beading on top of the ballast. Next, use a turkey baster to apply a 1 part glue, 3 parts water mixture to the track bed. Because the ballast was moistened with the sprayer, the glue-water mixture will seep into the ballast so that it dries and becomes firmly fixed to the roadbed. After the ballast dries thoroughly, remove the tacks. The ballast will be a solid mass and firmly hold the track in place. Give the track a final look over and remove any errant pieces of ballast. Track laying is important, so take your time and do a good job. Use a NMRA track gauge to check wheels and track spacing. HO trains can be finicky, especially on uneven or out-of-gauge track. Much of the enjoyment and satisfaction in building your layout comes from watching the trains run. And most of the frustration that comes from building a layout comes when the trains stop running. Give your trains a level, smooth, clean path, and they will run fine. HO trains are operated by DC power. DC stands for direct current, which means a positive and negative charge flow directly from a power source. Positive and negative refer to the polarity of the electric charge. When one rail receives a positive charge and the second rail receives a negative charge, the locomotive moves. When you reverse polarity, meaning the first rail now receives a negative charge and the second rail receives a positive charge, the locomotive moves in the opposite direction. The power pack has two sets of terminals, one set for sending power to the track and the other set for sending power to accessories. The terminals that operate the train, labeled track, convert the AC voltage coming out of the wall outlet to variable DC voltage, ranging from 0 to 18 volts. This enables you to control the speed of the trains. As we said in the ballasting the track section, install terminal joiners about every 5 feet to maintain a steady flow of electricity. The terminals that power accessories are tagged appropriately accessories. They send out AC current at a steady flow of about 16 volts. Store-bought tunnels are okay, but we'd rather make our own because the pre-made tunnels cost more and may not come in the size we need. Besides, making your own tunnel portal is creative and fun and gives a layout a more custom look. For our tunnel portal project, we will need a piece of Owens Corning rigid 1-inch thick pink foam board, sandpaper, and a piece of charcoal chalk. Also, a tape measure, slide square, a box cutter, a rotary tool with a carving and engraving kit, small file, and an airbrush or small paintbrush. By the way, it's important to get the pink foam board. Don't get white as it crumbles and it's difficult to make a straight cut. First, measure your tunnel opening. Since it's for only one track, an opening of 3.5 inches wide by 3.5 inches tall with 45-degree corners will work. The outer dimensions will be 7 inches wide and 5.5 inches high. Using a box cutter, RJ cuts the foam to these dimensions. Then uses sandpaper to smooth the edges. Next, RJ uses a Dremel rotary tool with an engraving cutter bit to outline the surface design. If you haven't done this before, use a straight edge to keep the line straight and practice first on a piece of scrap foam. If you don't have a rotary tool like the Dremel, you can also use a carving knife. Some folks use molds to make plaster portals. Remember, there are many ways to do everything. The final look is all that counts. How you got there and how much money you spent depends on how creative and resourceful you are. Layout building is a challenge, and it's fun. Next, RJ replaces the engraving cutter bit with a structured tooth cylinder cutter and creates a depressed area about 1/4 inch deep. By following the lines he made with the engraving cutter, RJ establishes a border around the tunnel opening and also establishes the depressed area where he will add portal detail. Once again, sandpaper is used to smooth edges and surfaces. To add the detail, RJ puts the engraving cutter back on the Dremel. You can choose any look you want: stone, metal, wood, bricks, or a combination. We chose a brick design. To make the outline of the bricks more crisp, RJ goes between the brick shapes with a small file. The next step is painting. A water-based paint is a must, as any other type of paint will dissolve the foam. Using an airbrush, RJ paints the entire surface gray, then sprays black paint in the crevices between the bricks to create a shadow effect and give depth to the brick design. Add more detail like smoke residue with charcoal chalk. Now we're ready to install. RJ had to make the original opening bigger to accommodate the finished portal. But once in, it looks great. Ready-made, store-bought trees are fine, but they are a little pricey, so we decided to make our own. Many of the materials RJ is going to use can be found outdoors or around your home. Others, like Woodland Scenic's fine turf and foliage clusters, can be found at your local hobby shop. In this video, we use Woodland Scenic's products, but there are others just as good. We are using Woodland Scenic stuff because we just happen to have it lying around. We will be showing you how to make both coniferous and deciduous trees. Materials you will need are hairspray, spray adhesive, black spray paint, sisal rope, dried flower stems, stranded wire, 1/4-inch dowel rods, green kitchen scouring pad or the material from a furnace filter, 18-gauge baling wire, Woodland Scenic's fine turf, and foliage clusters. You will also need a power drill, box cutter, pliers, comb, scissors, heavy-duty clipper, and an eyelet screw. Let's start with coniferous trees. Coniferous trees are cone-bearing seed plants. Most sprout needles instead of leaves. Examples are cedars, cypresses, junipers, pines, redwoods, spruces, and yews. RJ is making a pine tree. First, cut the 1/4-inch dowel rod into 4 to 5-inch long pieces. Whittle one end to a point. This gives the top of the tree a natural look. Lightly crimp the tree trunk with pliers. The pattern from the pliers looks like bark. Now spray a light coat of adhesive starting about a 1/2 inch from the base. Sprinkle some rope fibers on the adhesive. Now spray black paint on the branches to give the illusion of shadows. While the paint is still wet, sprinkle dark green Woodland Scenics fine turf over the branches. The turf will stick to the branches as the paint will work like an adhesive. Add more adhesive and sprinkle again to give the tree a fuller look. RJ cuts the dowel rod into desired lengths, then partially separates the scouring pads into fluffy sections between 1/2 and 2.5 inches wide. Do the same with the furnace filter. Again, whittle one end to a point. Lightly crimp the tree stem to give the appearance of bark. Now, starting with the widest pieces, slide the scouring pad pieces down the tree trunk. If filter cloth is used, put a dab of glue to secure the bottom piece from sliding down. RJ used a piece of the scouring pad to hold the bottom piece in place. Now spray the tree with black spray paint. Give it a light coat of spray adhesive. And sprinkle Woodland Scenics fine turf on the tree. If the tree does not look full or is patchy, give it a light coat of spray adhesive and add more Woodland Scenics fine turf. First, RJ cuts the rope in 4 to 5 inch lengths. Next, he unravels the strands of rope. Take your time. This job requires patience. After the rope is unraveled, comb the strands apart. Now for the trunk. Using the clippers, RJ cuts about an 18-inch length of baling wire. Then places an eyelet screw into the end of the power drill. He folds the wire in half and runs it through the eyelet screw. Pliers are used to secure the wire together about 3 inches away from the eyelet screw. RJ turns down the speed of the drill to low and slowly winds the wire to create a tight base for the tree. Now he spreads the untwisted wire open and begins to lay the combed rope on the wire. Make sure the rope is centered and the longer pieces are near the base. Then bring the wire back together with the rope between. Firmly secure the wires together with pliers. Begin to twist the wire and rope until all is equally tight. Now RJ cuts the wire at the base near the eyelet screw and trims away the excess wire at the top of the tree. RJ uses scissors to trim the rope to give the tree a pine tree look. Once you have your desired shape, spray adhesive on the tree. Lightly sprinkle Woodland Scenics fine turf to the sprayed surfaces. Repeat the last two steps to make sure your tree is lush and full. Deciduous trees sprout their leaves in the spring and lose their leaves in the fall. Examples of deciduous trees are oak, walnut, elm, birch, hickory, and maple. Deciduous means the dropping of a part that is no longer needed. I guess that refers to the leaves. First, RJ breaks the flower stems into 3 to 5 inch pieces. Twigs could also be used. Spray the branches with adhesive and sprinkle on the fine turf mixture. RJ wants an autumn look, so he uses a variety of reds, yellows, and oranges along with the greens. RJ made a mix of fine turf and foliage clusters to give the tree more texture. We'll make this tree out of stranded copper wire. You can buy new wire or use an old extension or appliance cord you might have lying around the house. Cut the stranded wire into about 6-inch lengths. Cut the cord jacket and remove the wires. Then slice the wire casings to get to the copper wire. Twist the wires together at one end. This will be the base of the tree. The more wire, the thicker the tree. As you twist, begin to separate the wire at the top. These strands will become the branches. RJ keeps twisting and separating the wire. The more erratic the separations, the more natural the tree will look. When RJ gets near the end of the wire branches, he separates the wire strands even more to simulate the gradual downsizing of branches on real trees. RJ takes a final look, changing some branches into more realistic angles. Time to spray adhesive on the branches. Gently dip the tree into the foliage clusters bag. The clusters will stick to your branches. Remove the tree from the bag and shake off any loose foliage. If the tree looks bare or unbalanced in any area, spray the adhesive again and add more foliage. To secure all the foliage, go over the entire tree with hairspray. Making kit trees is fast and easy, and they look good. The only negative is they cost money. RJ has a Woodland Scenics tree kit. He takes out one tree and separates the base from the trunk. He then separates and bends the branches to get a rounded, three-dimensional look. Next, RJ sprays adhesive to the tree branches, then dips the tree into a Woodland Scenics foliage clusters bag. Remove from the bag and shake off loose foliage. Add foliage to spots that seem bare or unbalanced, then apply the hairspray to keep the foliage in place. RJ reattaches the tree base, and now one more tree is ready for planting on our layout. So there you have it, some fast, fun, and affordable ways to create realistic and practical trees for your HO train layout. Put trees with trunks in the front. As you move back, just install the tops of the trees. It will still give the look of a full forest. Tree trunks can be made more realistic, especially those trees made with wire, by wrapping the trunk in masking tape, then paint. You can also dip the trunk in plaster, let dry, and paint. We need a bridge to span our valley between the farm area and the yard area. The bridge will be 62 inches long, 2 inches wide at the top, and 10 inches high. We decided on a trestle bridge. Parts include 1/4-inch dowel rods, hot glue, 1/4-inch balsa wood strips, 1/16-inch balsa wood strips, and 1/4-inch plywood. Tools RJ will use include a table saw, an Ultimate Easy Cutter available from Midwest Products, a pencil, hot glue gun, sliding square, and a tape measure. First, RJ draws a template for the bridge on a piece of cardboard. He starts by cutting the 1/4-inch dowel rod into the required lengths. Since we are only going to run one line of track over the bridge, it will measure 2.5 inches wide at the top and 3.5 inches wide at the bottom. It will be 10 inches high with a span of 62 inches. Horizontal supports are cut from the 1/4-inch balsa wood strips. Now, RJ lays the cut pieces on the template. The 2 outside supports should be longest, and the 2 shortest pieces should be in the middle. RJ is using a glue gun to glue the horizontal supports to the rods. Use an extra dowel rod to prevent the rods from moving. Hot glue dries fast, so RJ has to work fast. He keeps everything he needs close by. After the horizontal beams are glued in place, flip the trestle over. The Ultimate Easy Cutter cuts balsa wood at precise angles and does not crush it like scissors would. RJ adds small diagonal decorative pieces near the bottom of each trestle support because many real trestle bridges have these supports. Cut the pieces at 45-degree angles and glue them to the side of your trestle. Next, RJ glues the horizontal supports on this side of the trestle. When finished, RJ trims the excess from the sides. RJ spaces the trestle about 2 inches and will use 24 trestles to support the bridge. For the deck of the bridge, RJ cuts a piece of 1/4-inch plywood 2.5 inches wide and 62 inches long. If you don't have a table saw, a hand saw will work. RJ uses his slide square to draw a guideline a 1/4 inch from each edge. Using the hot glue gun, he glues one trestle near the end, following the guidelines. RJ installs each trestle in this same manner, maintaining the 2-inch space between each trestle. After the trestles are glued securely to the bridge deck, lay the bridge on its side and dab small amounts of glue at the end of each horizontal support. Attach a 1/4 inch balsa strip to the trestles, then trim the ends. Do the same for the horizontal supports at the base of the deck and near the bottom. Next, RJ adds the diagonal supports. He cuts the 1/16 inch balsa strips into 3 3/4 inch pieces, then cuts each end at opposing 45-degree angles. Glue a piece from the top corner of one trestle to the bottom corner of the trestle next to it. Then glue another strip to the opposite 2 corners to form an X. Repeat this step on every trestle. That's it. Great work, RJ. Now let's get it installed and see how a train looks running over it. The best way to add realistic water to your layout is to use real water. That's where the Garden Railroad guys have an advantage over us indoor modelers. Since real water is not an option, we'll have to make do with one of the many Make Water products on the market. We chose Envirotech's Pour-On High Gloss Finish Water. What you buy will depend on what type of water effect you want to create. A slow-flowing stream or a white rapid river, choppy seas or a tranquil pond. We chose to make a waterfall that cascades into a peaceful pond. In addition to the Envirotechs, RJ will need blue and/or green paint and 1 tube of clear silicone. Tools needed are a handheld blowtorch, caulk gun, sheet of plexiglass, a bowl with a wooden stir, and razor blade. It's important to read the directions carefully and to measure the various ingredients accurately. RJ begins by thoroughly mixing the resin and hardener. Mix slowly to minimize air bubbles. As you stir, the bubbles should rise to the top and pop. Mix in some blue paint to make sure your mixture will look more like water. After thoroughly mixing and getting the desired color, RJ immediately pours the mixture into our pond area. Do not wait or the mixture will harden in the bowl. If you want a deep lake effect, pour your water mixture in layers. And allow the layer to set for at least 24 hours before adding another layer. When installing in layers, add less color with each layer. This gives the illusion of depth. Layers should be no more than 1/4 inch thick. Thinner is better. If bubbles begin to form, go over the surface lightly with a handheld blowtorch. This will bring the bubbles to the surface and they pop. We have the pond, now we need a waterfall. First, RJ measures the distance our waterfall falls. On a clean plexiglass surface, RJ, using a caulk gun, squeezes out thin lines of silicone, a little longer than the height of the waterfall. The idea is to make the lines as straight as possible. Allow to dry, then scrape off the strands of silicone with a razor blade. Be careful not to break the strands. Apply thicker strands of silicone directly from the tube to the waterfall channel. Then, RJ inserts the strands of silicone he made on the plexiglass to the silicone he just applied to the walls. The fresh silicone acts as an adhesive. Allow at least 12 hours for the silicone to dry. Then make another mix of Envirotech's Pour-On High Gloss finish and pour it slowly, starting at the highest point of the waterfall. It will flow slowly, filling any gaps left by the silicone and give a natural look. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the show. But there's still a lot to cover. How to add buildings, lights, streets, how to make a switch yard, weathering, roads and grade crossings, cleaning track and wheels, L-girder construction, turnouts and how to hide those switch motors, how to install FlexTrack, how to tune up your locomotives, backdrops, prototypical operation, walk-around control, and a lot more. But we've run out of time, so watch for Building an HO Layout Part 2. Remember, building a layout is both challenging and rewarding, and it's fun. So get busy and good luck. A new, exciting I Love Toy Trains video for a new generation. I Love Toy Trains, all aboard. More spectacular special effects than ever seen in a train video. Flying saucers, UFOs, jet airplanes, jet trains, aliens, ghosts and goblins, and your favorite candies being loaded and unloaded on Lionel Accessories at the Big Rock Candy Mountain. See America's largest G-scale outdoor layout, a giant Lego layout, and a jet-powered Bud car, which set a speed record that still stands today. Plus 6 new songs by our favorite singer-songwriter, James Coffey. Hop on board for a boxcar full of laughs, fun, and wall-to-wall train action. The 14-part I Love Toy Trains is one of the best-selling children's video series in the country. It has thrilled and delighted millions of kids and grown-ups. I Love Toy Trains All Aboard is wall-to-wall train action for a new generation of train fanatics. There's so much train action and fun, you'll want to see it again and again to make sure you see it all. I Love Toy Trains All Aboard!
Oh no!